Hello, people of grace. Our weekly Pastoral Connect has been on a bit of a hiatus, but I'm back, and today I want to talk about a great house. Not just any great house, the great house that God calls your soul. In Psalm 139, David has this epiphany that he is fearfully and wonderfully made. Such a powerful statement rooted in this truth, not David, but the fact that anything God makes is wonderful. All of his works are wonderful. But God himself says that we are the pinnacle of his creation. Tells us that really in Genesis 1 and 2. And in 2 Timothy 2, Paul talks about you, me, Timothy, any human being. He talks about their soul, their life, that which makes them them, like it's a great house. And in that great house, something we should celebrate, and using today's terminology, we should celebrate our privilege, not because we're so fantastic, but because God has just gifted us with this privileged position in all of his creation to care for it, to rule over it, to really be his stewards in it, to represent him. And we should be celebrating that and seeing that as a gift every day. Celebrate the great house that is your soul. Um, that's the first big point. But from that place of gratitude and celebration, we also have to then conduct an honest inventory of what's inside of us and confess that we are all mixed up messes. We can talk about all the reasons that that might be the case: generational sin, oppression, systemic injustice, bad choices, sin. Whatever the contributing factors are, at least once you and I are adults, we are really called by God to take ownership of the calamity of good and bad and chaos and junk that is just piled up in our souls, the great house that is our soul. And Paul tells Timothy, um, look, there's a lot of gold and silver in there, but there's a lot of stuff that's just common that you need to get out. So we take ownership over that so that we can be cleansed. And the cleansing is this. It's not saying, um, it's not really identifying with all these desires and things that we feel. Our desires are not us. They are things that have accumulated in the great house of our soul. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But as Paul is coaching Timothy, he says, you need to start making a judgment, not about why you have those desires. That might be helpful, but is that desire good or is it bad? We're not judging anybody for whatever desires they have. That's complicated, and we all have messed up desires. But we have to evaluate whatever desires we have, say, is that good or is that bad? Because though we feel like our desires define us, they don't. But some of them are hunting us. And so Paul says, flee certain desires. Be a hard target. Don't just identify with them. Fight them, reject them, run from them. Don't let them target you, because they're not you. They're hunting you. But then he also says to be a hard target, it can't just be no, no, no. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. You also have to be hunting something yourself. He says, pursue virtue, pursue righteousness, but not just being right, and that can be pharisaical, and that can be worse than whatever it's supposedly saving us from. But this idea of, yeah, pursue righteousness, but do it in a faithful, loving, peaceful way, like all those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. When we are operating faithful, loving, peaceful ways, but also recognizing that good is real and evil is real, and we have to pursue righteousness and good, then we are recovering our purpose to be God's agents in this creation. And that's a beautiful calling. And every single one of our souls is what God himself calls a great house.